iOS 14 has just been released, and it happened in a kind of crazy way. Usually there's a gold master and a release date, and the developer community counts down to the release. This year, there was an Apple event, and at that Apple event, they told the world that the newest version of iOS would be released tomorrow. So here we are in the future, and iOS 14 is out. But it happened without the usual fanfare, and my guess is that a lot of the articles and the videos that were supposed to detail and document everything that's happening just aren't going to be ready in time. But there's so many great quality of life updates that most people still don't know about. So that's this video. This is some of my favorite tips documenting the changes that I've really enjoyed as I've ran the beta. This isn't a review or an exhaustive list by any means. It's just 10 of my favorite things that you might not know about. So let's get started with the biggest change. Widgets. This is huge because it finally brings an evolution to the iPhone home screen, which has been mostly the same for the last decade. Now, you can leave your home screen exactly as it's been up to this point. All of the changes are optional, but they're so good that I think that most people are really going to want to start experimenting with them immediately. Up until this point in the history of iOS, widgets have been relegated to secondary screens. Now, they can live right on your home screen alongside your app icons, or they can replace your app icons entirely. I've turned my home screen into a full widget experience with a big reminders widget that I use to put anything I want to write down quickly or remember later, and a smart stack of other widgets. This smart stack is why the widget works so well. Put them on top of each other and Apple will do their best to show you the right one throughout the day. So if you have a stack that includes calendar and weather, it will probably show you weather in the morning as you wake up and calendar like an hour before your next meeting. My experience is that the Smart and Smart Stack is very real, and I've never really had to find myself swiping through the stack to find the one that I want. There's not that much third-party support just yet, but I'm excited to see what's released and how it changes the way that I navigate my phone. Now, with app icons being less important, there's a way to get rid of them. Deleting an app icon now no longer deletes the app, instead putting it in something called the app library. This is a space that has every app on your phone automatically sorted into folders based on the app category, and it's great. I essentially put every app on my phone into the library, and you can go to settings and choose if you want newly downloaded apps to pop up on your home screen or just go straight to the app library. I'm going to imagine that most people will find the lack of clutter enjoyable. There's a lot of other changes to the home screen that are great. You can click the dots at the bottom to quickly scrub through them, and you can hide and unhide entire pages, which might be useful for someone that, say, has a work page that includes apps like Slack and doesn't want to see that on the weekend. This all feels like a major shift in the way that the home screen is set up, and I'm excited to see how people use these features. But I could talk about this all day, and that's not what this video is about, so let's move on. The third feature that I think a ton of people are really going to get a lot of use out of is picture-in-picture. This is exactly what it sounds like. When you're watching a video, you can swipe up, and the video will handily move to the corner of the screen as you open another app. This is fantastic, and it's done in a really smart way. Pinching the video lets you choose between 3 different sizes, and swiping on the video pushes it off screen while the video continues to play. If you have the video at the bottom of the screen and then you want to use the keyboard, the video pushes up to be right above it so that you can type. This feature is already supported by Safari and apps like Twitch and Plex, and hopefully we'll be seeing support for YouTube soon, but who knows. The fourth feature is something that photographers are really going to love: true exposure control in the native camera app. Swiping up on the camera brings you a variety of different tools, and the one that I really care about is this exposure dial. Now you can quickly move the exposure up or down to brighten or darken the photos that you're taking. Before, you had to use that little sun icon next to the focus while you took a photo, and you would have to redo it every single time that you changed your subject or you moved the camera. That was terrible, and this is way better, and something that will level up your photography game immediately if you're using the stock app. The fifth feature is also camera related, and it's the one little change that I've probably used more than any other over these last couple of months. You can now, in the Photos app, better trim and crop video footage. For years, I've wanted to do this, and I've had to keep weird third party apps on my phone just to make the tiniest of edits. Now it's really easy, and not only is it something that's more convenient to do, but it works in the background. So after you finish your edit and click done, the change happens in the background instead of holding you to some processing screen and not letting you move away. It's just a huge time saver, and it let me delete some crappy apps that I've never wanted to use in the first place. The sixth feature is probably the one that I'm going to tell all of my friends about who don't care about tech or any of these other things. It's the fact that the emoji keyboard now has a search function. This is great and something that's honestly felt like a long time coming. It's existed on macOS, but for some reason hadn't made the jump to the iPhone until now. Up until this point, the best way to find an emoji using words was to use the autocomplete bar, but it would only show you a couple of emoji, and it didn't really do the best job. Now you can go to the emoji keyboard, click search, and type in any word to find the ones that you want. It's simple. It's great. It's something that people are going to use a lot. The seventh feature is a change in the way that FaceTime works, and I can't tell if people are going to love it or hate it. Judging by some of the Twitter searches that I've done, it's going to be a mixed bag. Up until this point, when you were on a FaceTime call, if you left the app, your video would stop and the person would see a screen that said that your video was paused. Now that limitation has been removed and your video continues to play when you leave the app. If you liked being able to hide your video, this is bad. If you didn't like it when someone called you out for leaving the FaceTime call when you were scrolling on Instagram, this is great. It's a big shift that I think is going to surprise a lot of people as they make FaceTime calls. Which leads me to the eighth feature I want to talk about, new recording indicators at the top of the screen, which lets you know whenever your audio or video is being recorded. This feels to me very heavily tied to that new decision about your FaceTime video, but it also appears when you're on a call or recording audio in any app or just anything where you might be using the microphone or camera. These recording indicators don't obstruct your view, but they're also clear enough that you can't miss them. It's a great win for Apple, especially as they continue pressing on the user's right for privacy. The ninth feature is the one that could potentially save you the most money. Apple Maps has gotten a nice update, and in a lot of cities it now tells you when you're coming up against a red light camera. This is a great addition and helps Apple Maps strengthen its position against competitors like Google Maps and Waze. And there's another weird new feature. I don't know exactly how useful it's going to be, but I found it interesting enough that I wanted to include it. Several times I've seen a pop-up asking me to refine my location, and this seems like it's tied to my home location or anywhere that I go regularly, but essentially it allows me, or you, to scan your environment with your LiDAR-equipped camera, and then the dot which represents you will better place itself exactly where it's supposed to be. At first, I thought that this was some tricky way for Apple to convince you to help them build an AR model of the world, but the pop-up says that the data is, quote, not shared with Apple, so this might just be a way to make the Maps experience even more refined. In any case, it was such a strange thing that I thought that it was worth highlighting. The final feature is for people that have AirPods or Apple-made headphones, device switching. One of the most annoying parts of using AirPods has been switching between devices. And though Apple has made it as painless as possible, I've still found that the process of moving my AirPods from my iPhone to my iPad has taken a bit longer than I've wanted to. Now it's instantaneous, and you don't have to do anything at all. This feature just came out, so I don't have that much time using it, and I really hope that the experience continues to be as painless as it's been over the last 24 hours. But simply opening my iPad switches my AirPods over when the device has nothing playing on them, and vice versa, working as I close my iPad and reopen my iPhone. It's one of those things that's just, it's a little change, but it feels so huge, and like it was the way that it was always supposed to work. And that's the best version of Apple software, right? When it just works. So that's my 10 favorite features of iOS 14. I hope that I taught you something new, and if you want to see even more, check out the Twitter thread that I'll link in the description. I've been maintaining a list of my favorite new iOS features, and I've included quite a few that I just didn't share here because they felt too small to talk about. So, enjoy the new world of widgets, and thanks for watching.